So it's a recording in progress, so we are good to go. So if you know anybody who's not here tonight, you can let them know. We'll also send out an email that this recording will be on the school's YouTube page by tomorrow. So fear not if you miss anything, or if someone who is not here tonight would like to rewatch this town hall, they can do so on the school's YouTube page. Well, as I said, good evening, everyone. We're so glad that you all are here. For those of you that are new, my name is Mr. Charles Jefferson. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications, and it is my honor to be here with you all tonight and to serve as the moderator for our town hall. I'm going to do introductions, and then we'll do some sort of housekeeping, and then we'll get started with our program. So let me introduce my fellow colleagues, many of whom you all may already be familiar with. I'll start our principal, Dr. Quincy Payton, who you will be hearing from momentarily. Our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. John Malloy, who he will be talking more about our lunch program as well as tuition. Mrs. Nara Mahone, our assistant principal, is here with us tonight, and she'll be talking more about course selection as well as ACT testing. We also have Mr. Jonathan Tarasi, our Director of Technology. He will be talking about Schoology, Chromebooks, and any other technology needs that you and your child or children will need to know to start the school year successfully. And last but not least, we have our president, Mr. Tim Bop, who will be doing our prayer and welcome in just a moment. But before we get to that, just a couple of housekeeping. For those of you that are new, welcome. We are so glad that you are a part of the Holy Trinity family, or chose to be a part of the Holy Trinity family. We have a parents of Holy Trinity Facebook group, and I will put that link in the chat. If you haven't, we encourage you to join that group. We post information in there, school updates and other important school information in that group, as well as other parents that you can get to know. Some of our other parents also post important information about school and about other things in that group as well. And it's just a good group to be in to get to know other parents and to begin to have conversations about school and how we can work together. So I will put that link to that group in the chat. Also, if you haven't done so already, you all have received our parent newsletter, as well as you received a follow-up email inviting you to our back to school bash, which is Thursday, August 19th from 5 to 7 here at Holy Trinity out on Cleaver Street. I will also put a link to the RSVP in the chat box as well. We just want to get an accurate count of how many people we should expect. That way we can make sure that we have enough food and drinks for everyone. We really would like to see everyone come out to this back to school bash. It'll be a lot of fun, games, prizes, and just a way for everybody to connect as a family, especially after this past year. We're really excited to have everybody back in the building 100%. Dr. Payton, of course, will talk more about, the procedures and everything, but we're just really excited to have all of our students, staff, and faculty back in one place. And we want to start the school year off right. We're just celebrating family and celebrating each other and just toasting to what we know will be an excellent school year. So I will put the link to that RSVP in the chat as well. Our vaccination clinic, which is next Tuesday, the 24th, Dr. Payton will tell you a little bit more about that, but we are asking for people, if you are interested in getting the vaccine, whether your student or yourself or a family member, I will put the RSVP link to that in our chat box as well. And then if you have questions, because we know that people may have questions, we do encourage you to share those questions with us, either the chat or either the Q&A box. And we'll, go over those questions as the night goes on. So please, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A box, as well as the chat box. and we'll sort of address those questions as the night goes on. And we'll also have a portion toward the end of the program where we'll address any of the outstanding questions. I think that is it for my welcome and sort of housekeeping. It is my pleasure to turn the floor over to our president, Mr. Tim Bopp, who will greet us with a welcome and prayer.
Thanks, Charles. Welcome, everyone. It is very exciting to anticipate the opening of school in just 1 week. We really miss the students being in the building and, of course, the very special relationships that always develop between the students and faculty and staff in the building. We've been working hard to make sure that the start of school is very positive and that the year in general is very fulfilling and rewarding for the students. Before we go any further, let's do what we do every day at Holy Trinity, but putting ourselves in the presence of the Lord in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, we pray that you will be with our students as they travel to and from school. Bless them as they learn, play, and become young adults. Help them understand that they are not alone. Assist them to be patient with their family members, teachers, and friends. Keep them safe and give our students the ability to see the joy in every day. Lord, pray for our parents to give them wisdom to advise their children, to see clearly the way forward, to make them strong in the face of any weaknesses, and to believe and instill in their families a sense that all is possible. Lord, help our teachers to love their students, to understand when things do not go according to plan, to inspire their students to explore, learn, and to be humble in the face of ignorance, to be gracious to others, to delight in the newly discovered, to love the truth, and to try their very best. Help us all work together to make the year one of growth, compassion, strength, and fun. By the power of your holy cross, transform our hearts and minds, that in your name we may transform the world. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.
Coach Larry.
So let's talk about the building, construction, and safety. As most of you know, Holy Trinity High School was built in 1927. We take great pride in both keeping it clean and safe, but also in modernizing it and improving it continually so we can provide for our students the best possible learning environment. 2 years ago, we discovered leaking around some of the windows in the building. And after a thorough investigation of the matter, we realized that there existed a design flaw that allowed water to penetrate the window opening, causing various issues in the building. We set out a 3-year plan to redo the brick facade. 2 summers ago, we repaired the rear of the building on the south, on the division, and 2 summers ago, we repaired the division and Cleaver Street sides of the building. This summer, we repaired the rear of the building on the south, inner classroom corridor, and the north side. Next summer, we will repair the gym side of the building, including the west wall, the inner corridor gym wall, and the gym south wall. Next summer, we will also repave the west sidewalk and the rear parking lot where our minibuses are parked. All efforts to this point have been very successful, and the building actually looks great. After next summer, we will be ready for another 100 years of service. Building safety. As always, our number one concern is the health and safety of the Holy Trinity family, including students, teachers, staff members, parents, and visitors. We have not lessened our commitment to battle the COVID-19 virus in any way. So here's where we are as far as protocol is concerned. Masks are going to be worn all year. We have improved our ventilation through obviously open windows when weather is permitting by installing ceiling fans as well. Every single classroom has had ceiling fans installed. We have also placed portable air purifiers in each classroom. We have hand sanitizers in each room, disinfectant spray in each room. We have also retained a cleaning porter who will work during the school day to clean and sanitize common areas, bathrooms, cafeteria, and other high-touch surface areas. And each and every morning, a disinfectant spray by our maintenance engineer will be made to all the common areas. Our hard work and everyone's diligent effort last year helped prevent the spread of the virus. We had no known cases of the virus spreading within the building and infecting anyone, student, teacher, staff, or volunteer. And obviously, we want to keep it that way. And finally, for those that have been with us for a few years, prior to the pandemic, you may remember that we installed alarms on all our doors to the school for safety concerns. As part of our overview on keeping our students safe, we created a secured welcome area on the Division Street entrance to the building and made all visitors enter and exit the building there. Now that we have all of our students back in the building, we will be going back to that same system. No one will be allowed entrance into or exit from our school building except through the Division Street doors where there will be security. As Charles had mentioned, I hope you are planning to be with us on Thursday evening as we celebrate the beginning of our Back to School Bash event. Come out, see old friends, meet some of our new teachers, and enjoy a night of games and fun. All in all, we are very excited for the return of school, and we want you to know that your partnership with us is incredibly important and one that we value each and every day. Thank you, everyone, and I'll be around to answer any questions at the end of the program. Thanks, Charles.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bob. I know we have one question in here. Someone asked, when will lockers be replaced? I don't know if that's a...
Yeah, I think I can answer that, Charles.
All right.
So we have replaced the lockers on the first floor. And the plan was every other year to replace the lockers getting a little old and a little worn on the second and third floors. We have not been able to do that, but we are hoping that starting next summer, we can start that process. So it'll take a while to get it done, but if we do it every other year, we should be able to complete it in several years down the line.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bob. As always, you guys have questions, please put those in the chat or Q&A box, and we will address those questions as we go along here. Now, I'm going to introduce Mr. John Malloy, our Chief Operating Officer, who is going to talk to us tonight about tuition as well as the lunch program.
Thank you, Charles. So I'm going to try to share my screen here and give some information about our breakfast and lunch program for this year. So we partner with Country House Kitchen, who is our food service provider at Holy Trinity. They have a popular restaurant in Alsip, and they also run a number of high school kitchens and university kitchens. So you'll see some of those names listed here. They've been with us for a number of years now, and we've been really happy with their ability to provide a high-level food service to Holy Trinity in a healthy way. So the government has made available, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a new way to provide food service in schools. So we've applied for and received a waiver to participate in the seamless summer option. The waiver was necessary because, as the name implies, it's typically a summer program, but to encourage families to continue to eat healthy, they wanted to make the program available throughout this coming school year. So this means that all Holy Trinity students will be able to receive breakfast and lunch free of charge, which is great news. And it's part of various efforts by the government through stimulus packages and other ways to make sure that people are supported throughout the pandemic. So again, if a student is getting a meal from Holy Trinity, and it's the comprehensive school meal that we provide that meets the nutrition guidelines, there will be no charge associated with it for breakfast or lunch. So we've all seen the food pyramid. There are certain components that we will be providing to make sure that it meets the criteria for a healthy breakfast or a healthy lunch. Now, while the meals themselves are free of charge, there are other items available for purchase that we wanted to make note of and how you could pay for those items as well. So our priority is going to be to get all students served their meals first. And once those are served, students are invited to come back up to make a second trip through the food service line, and they could buy any of these items for a charge. They will not be covered as part of the food program. And how can you pay for these items? So we use the students' IDs as identification for these transactions. The ID is linked to an account for each student through My Mealtime. They can either use cash for those purchases or have money in their account through the My Mealtime program. So parents can add funds to the account, and you can also monitor your students' purchases throughout the school year and see in real time what they're buying. So we encourage you to keep track of that. If you go back to look at some of these items, if a student's getting a cookie and a Powerade each day, by the end of the school year, it could add up to a significant amount. So you want to make sure that your student understands your expectations for what they're going to be purchasing. So the program that I mentioned, My Mealtime, is available both as a website and as an app. So the program here shows in the App Store the interface for My Mealtime. You can download that on your smartphone. You need to set up an account, and it will ask for your date of birth. That is going to be the parent's date of birth. You have to be at least 18 or older to have an account. So this would not be your student's date of birth, but the parent or guardian's information. So as with most programs, you have to create a username and a password. You'll add a student to the account, specifying that you're in Illinois and at Holy Trinity High School. You can look up your student looking for their student ID, which is found on their schedule that was mailed to you in the last couple of weeks. And you can set various notices and alerts for your account to show if a balance is getting low. You can add funds to the account, and it will update within minutes for your student to be able to make purchases. It can be linked to a debit card or a checking account as well. So we encourage you to set up an account if you haven't already, especially new families who are joining us this year. And it helps you to keep track of what your student is purchasing and making sure they're not exceeding their budget. So as we covered previously, the meals are available to everyone regardless of having to apply based on income. However, we still are asking families to help us and to help your students by applying for the National School Lunch Program. So in a typical year, we would have families apply, and those who qualify based on income would receive either a free or reduced lunch based on their qualifications. However, this year, all students, regardless of income, will receive a free breakfast or free lunch if they're interested. But there are other important reasons beyond just the free meals that we would encourage you to apply. Your student can get discounts on the ACT tests, on AP exams, dual credit programs, be eligible for additional scholarships, and some additional potential benefits from the government by qualifying for the free and reduced lunch program. So we do encourage you, regardless of the need to get the free meals in our cafeteria, to take advantage of some of the other benefits by applying if you think you would qualify. So we have here some sample income ranges based on household size, the number of children, and the amount of income to the house that you can use as a reference. It's also on our website to see if your family might qualify, and we encourage you to apply if it looks like you would. So in terms of applying for the free and reduced lunch program, you can do that in the app here. Look for this apply online button on the left control panel of the app. But we would recommend, it's probably easier to do on an actual computer. So if you go to mymealtime.com, you'll see in bright orange here, multiple opportunities to apply for the free reduced lunch program. And once you click on that, you will be taken to an application that you can complete online. It should only take a couple of minutes. You would select that you're in Illinois and attending Holy Trinity High School and take it from there. So our partnership with Country House Restaurant is a collaboration, and we welcome the feedback of students and parents in terms of how they find the offerings in the cafeteria. So to that end, we have a wellness committee. We meet every quarter, and we are always seeking student input. So if your student is interested, we would encourage them to contact me to join the wellness committee, and you can help gather feedback from other members of the student body about what's popular in the cafeteria, opportunities for improvement or changes to the menu. So we hope that everybody's excited about the seamless summer option and the opportunity to have free meals for breakfast and lunch, and that will help alleviate some of the burden that our families are facing during the pandemic. And feel free to contact me if you have any questions about the food program. Additionally, as Charles mentioned, I wanted to provide some information about tuition as well. So hopefully on August 1st, you would have received information from Blackbaud Tuition Management about your August tuition statement. Our tuition is paid over 10 months from August through May, and is due the 20th of each month over the course of 10 months. So tuition is divided over 10 parts. If a family was expecting to receive financial aid, but received an August tuition bill for full tuition, that means that we did not receive your financial aid application. So we would encourage you to apply. That's something you have to apply for each year. And you can contact Mr. Swanson in the development office regarding your application. But we appreciate everybody's support of Holy Trinity, and we encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to have a healthy breakfast and lunch each day provided by Holy Trinity. I believe there was a question in the chat about what time is breakfast. So breakfast is served from 7:15 until 7:50. At 7:50, the bell rings, and students have 10 minutes to get to class for the start of class at 8 o'clock.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Malloy. I know we have some other questions in the chat in the Q&A box, so I want to be sure that we, while we're on the subject of tuition and lunch, that we address some of these questions. The first question that I want to bring attention to is parent Kira asked, would there or will there be more vegan and vegetarian options for students that are vegan? I understand there may be fries or salad, but will there be additional options?
So that's definitely something, input that we would appreciate guidance on. If there are special dietary requests, they can sometimes be accommodated on an individual basis. If there's enough interest in the student body, they can be reflected on the menu throughout. But if you could email me, Charles, maybe you could share my email. We could work collaboratively on what the dietary restrictions are and what type of items might appeal to you.
Yes, I will put that in the chat in just a moment here. Another common question that people asked is about accounts. So these are from some of our veteran parents who asked, will the food balance on mealtime from last school year roll over to this year?
Yes, if you had a balance, it will carry over to this year. The only exception would be graduates, students who are no longer with Holy Trinity having graduated. They should have been mailed a check over the summer for the remainder.
Let me go back up here to the top. When do we receive supply lists? Dr. Payton, would you be able to answer that? Is the school supply list?
I'm assuming that that would be, maybe the parent is referring to the book list as well as pens, pencils, things that kids need as school supplies. So the closest thing that we send out to that would have been in the mailing that would have gone out maybe about 3.5 weeks ago. I know it had the course schedule, the book list. I'm not exactly sure if we send out an actual suggested supply list. But school supplies such as binders, pens, pencils, a ruler, a calculator, you want to make sure that your student is armed with all of the supplies they need to be successful in the classroom.
Thank you. Another common question, Mr. Lloyd, that people had, again, for some of our veteran parents, if they already have an account, do they need to reapply or do anything special as far as their account other than, you know, adding funds?
So if you already have an account, you do not need to create a new account. The only thing that you have to do each year is apply for the free and reduced lunch program. As I mentioned, you don't need to do that this year to qualify for a free meal for breakfast and lunch, but there are other benefits that are associated with that status. So we would encourage you to apply, and that is something that you have to do each school year. It does not carry over from one year to the next. But if you have an account already in place, there's no need to create a new one.
All right. Let me just be sure that I'm not. Is it still possible to apply for financial aid?
Yes, it is still possible to apply for financial aid. That being said, tuition is due at the end of the week on the 20th. So it may not be processed in time for your first month's tuition, but financial aid can be requested. It's not too late.
All right. And this question is, what type of payment method is allowed when adding funds at the register in school?
So at the register in school would be cash only. We do not have the interface to add money through a credit card or debit card at the point of service, but cash would be accepted, or from home online that you could do it at My Mealtime with a credit or debit card.
And then last question, and then we'll move on, and then we'll get to other questions later in the program. This is about venture cards. Where do we send venture card student reduced fare applications? We have the card from last year.
So you can send the application to Adrian Jimenez in the business office, or you could have the student visit the business office the next time they're in the building.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Malloy, for that information. I did put Mr. Malloy's email in the chat. Is there a new dress code? Dr. Payton will be talking about dress code and all that stuff momentarily. So we will get to that. But if you all have any questions, please feel free to keep adding those in the chat or in the Q&A box. And we will do our best to address those questions as we go on, as we continue with the program. But now I will turn it over to Dr. Payton, our school principal. He's going to be talking about COVID-19 updates as well as some upcoming events. And then he'll also be addressing the uniform policy, discipline, and some other important things that you need to know.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for coming to our parent town hall for the fall. We will only be having 2 town halls this year, one for the fall and one for the beginning of the spring. I want to talk a little bit about COVID as well as some upcoming events and a couple of other things. So first and foremost, our first day of school is next Wednesday. However, orientation is next Monday and Tuesday. So for the first day, August 23rd, and I know I mailed this to you guys, and you will get more email communication about this as the dates come up. But on Monday, August 23rd, we will have an orientation for freshmen beginning at 8 a.m. And again, for sophomores, beginning at 2:30. So freshmen are at 8, sophomores are at 2:30. We typically don't have an orientation for sophomores, but I wanted to have one this year because so many of them either were e-learning last year, were only in the building 2 days a week, and didn't really get a chance to really learn their classmates all that well. So they're going to go through and do the normal orientation stuff, but we're going to have some team building and some other cool things for them to do to, one, know who their classmates are, and then two, come back in the building and have some fun. They will also get their locker, they'll take an ID photo, and we will get them their Chromebook at that time. The next day is Tuesday, August 24th. During that day at 8 o'clock, freshmen will come back and they will have their second day of orientation. That day will start with me in the auditorium, but it will also be a class or normal day simulation. They'll go through their whole schedule from homeroom first, and then from first period through 8th period. We're going to give them some classroom expectations, some norms. We're going to give them some time to learn and practice opening their locker, as well as give them an opportunity to meet their teachers. Later that day, from 12 to 3, juniors and seniors will come to the building for orientation. They will get a chance to also pick up their Chromebooks, take an ID photo, and also get their locks and lockers. Now, it was mentioned earlier that we will be having a vaccine clinic. That clinic will be that same day, Tuesday, August 24th. I think an email in a communication went out already about it. And that'll be from 11 to 2. That will span the freshman orientation as well as the junior and senior orientation. Those of you who are sophomores and whose parents are interested in you getting the vaccine, or perhaps the parent as well, are also invited to come to that clinic from 11 to 2. It'll be in room 102. We'll have some signage up to kind of let people know where it is. The clinic is being offered by the Illinois Department of Public Health, and there will be an observation table where after the shot is given, all students and parents and staff and faculty will have a seat and sit for about 15 minutes, and then you guys will be free to go.
So Dr. Payton, one thing that I wanted to point out, the Illinois Department of Public Health also mentioned that if somebody has already received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine and not gotten around to getting their second dose, they are welcome to attend our clinic. It's not just for people seeking their first dose. So the Illinois Department of Public Health will be offering the Pfizer vaccine. So you're welcome to join us either to get your first dose, or if it's been at least 3 weeks since your first dose of the Pfizer vaccine, you're also welcome to come complete the process by getting your second dose with us.
Okay. The first day of school is the 25th. That will be a normal regular day in the building in terms of all students will be in the building. We're not doing a cohort. We don't have a workday Wednesday this year. It will be a regular week. For that first week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all students are allowed to be out of uniform. So those of you who have not yet purchased a uniform, it's okay. You have a few extra days, but that Monday, which will be August 30th, all students will be expected to be in uniform. The uniform guide is not changed. I have no intention of ever changing it. However, there is one point of emphasis this year, and that is in the wintertime. Last year, we had students who were coming in attire, whether it be a sweater or a jacket, that wasn't a Holy Trinity sweater or jacket. We allowed it because our students couldn't use their lockers, and let's face it, Chicago winters are pretty tough. However, this year, we want parents to provide their kids with a Holy Trinity sweater or pullover that can be had at Zemski's. And we want to make sure that you get those because we want our students to be in uniform during the winter months as well. So make sure that your student has those materials. Other than that, the uniform is exactly the same as last year. Now, I sent out a parent packet a few weeks ago that had your students' course schedule, the book list, and a few other items. There's a couple things that I want to go over. When we sent that parent packet, the world was a little different than what it is today. In there, we indicated that we had a threshold that we were looking to meet in order to not be able to wear a mask. That threshold was 80% of our students would provide proof of vaccination, and 90% of our employees would do the same. Shortly after that, we saw cases of COVID-19 spiking all over the country. And Governor Pritzker, along with the CDC and the Archdiocese, sent new guidance on masks, that all students had to be wearing a mask in school, and we will follow suit. So on the first day of school, up until we get new guidance, we're all in a mask, students, staff, and faculty. We will all be wearing a mask. Beginning in September, we will also have COVID testing. It will be using the same provider that we used last year. They came every Friday about 2:30 and stayed till about 4 o'clock. And they provided free rapid testing for all of our students, staff, and faculty, and whoever else wanted to be tested. We'll be doing that again. We don't actually have the day yet because I didn't want Fridays anymore. So I'm still waiting for them to get back, but we will be starting testing in September at Holy Trinity. The only group of students that we want to make sure gets tested every week are our student athletes, mainly because a lot of our student athletes will be in contact with other students from other schools during a game or some sort of competition. We noticed last year that several of our student athletes did come down with the virus. We don't know if it was from another kid at another school or where they got it from. But we want to make sure, since they're going to be out there and touching and in other students' face, competing in competition in their sport, that not only they're wearing masks, but we are testing them to make sure that they're still safe. Now, let's say a student comes down with the virus. The moment we find that out, we will send that student home, as we did last year. That part of our policy isn't changing. But we currently are not set up for remote learning. There won't be any e-learning this year as of now, unless things got really, really bad, or we were ordered to by Governor Pritzker or some other governing body. Right now, that student would go home for a period of 7 to 10 days. After which, they will be welcomed back into the building so long as they can provide a negative test that they are no longer infected with COVID-19. Once we get that, they can come back in the building. Now, this means that they're going to miss some instruction. That's true. We will send their work and any materials from class home via email or through Schoology. We will also stay in constant contact with those students. Number one, to make sure that they're safe and they're doing okay. And number two, to make sure that they're maintaining and keeping current with any lost work. It's important for us, number one, to make sure that everyone in the building is safe. And that leads me to the next piece. We've indicated that we're going to have a vaccine clinic here on the 24th. Now, I know some families have already told us they're not getting the vaccine. You are free to do that. However, the science has shown us that the vaccine, plus wearing a mask every day, provides the greatest protection against this virus. We want your student to be safe. And so far, we feel like that would do it. Now, it's your right not to get the vaccine, but that does mean you'll be sending your student in the building without the optimal amount of protection. Parents, please know that's what might happen if you choose not to get them the vaccine. One thing that we won't be doing this year is temperature checks. For some reasons, a lot of our thermometers either didn't work or the battery wouldn't be functional, and we didn't always get the best temperatures anyway. So upon entering the building, no one will have to submit for a temperature check. Now, because all the students are back in the building, it will be very difficult to do any social distancing. We can social distance up to about 3 feet, specifically for major assemblies, something in the auditorium, a pep rally, something in the gym. We can separate our students as much as we can, 3 to 6 feet. However, in the classroom, the students will be in the class and probably 3 feet or less from the next student. Some of our classrooms are small, and some of our class sizes have a capacity of about 24 students. Some of those classes are full. I want you guys to know that, so you understand what a normal class situation is going to be for your student. We will social distance as much as we can. But again, this is another underpinning to why we want students to get the vaccine, so long as their parents consent to that. Another thing that we're keeping is all of our cleaning protocols. We will clean the building every day, as we did last year, not only including hard surfaces, but also doorknobs and other common places where students put their hands or where students and faculty congregate. We will clean not only at the beginning of the day, but throughout the day and then after the school day. We feel like everything that we did last year put a lid on any major outbreaks from COVID, and our cleaning protocols was a part of that. Lastly, we want to do excellent record keeping. We want to know of our parents and of our students who has been vaccinated. If you have gotten your student vaccinated, please send proof of that vaccination card. I think you have a couple of different ways to do it. You can send it to Linda Bannon, who's here in our main office, via email to her, by scanning it and emailing it to Linda. You are welcome to fax it, which I sent our fax information to you guys, and we'll put it up again in the chat box where you can just simply fax the vaccination card to us. Or you can simply walk it to us in the main office and we'll provide a copy for it. We want to know who's vaccinated and who's not. That gives us a clue on how we can handle certain things and what we can expect if, let's say, a student becomes symptomatic, if a student isn't symptomatic. We want to know who those individuals are. So please send us that as soon as you can, or send it with your student during orientation. And Charles, isn't there another way for them to upload? Is there another way to upload their vaccination card?
Yes, let me just look back in my notes here. Yeah, so yeah, the 3 ways that you just said. Number 1, You can just simply bring the card here to the main office and we'll make a copy. You can scan it and email it to Ms. Bannon, Mrs. Bannon in the main office, and I'll put her email in the chat. And then you can also, the third option, fax it to us, and I will put our fax number in the chat. And please make it to the attention of Linda Bannon, who works in our main office.
And I just saw a question from Lisette. No, we only want the vaccination card for the student, not the parent. A couple other things I wanted to go over real quick. We do have a new grading scale. We are now to a 10-point scale, and we've added a plus or minus system to our scale. What that means is if your student came home with a 90 on an exam, let's say, and they're in English class, that is an A minus here at Holy Trinity. Last year, that would have been a B. So a plus or minus scale, a plus or minus system into our grading scale, and now we're on a 10-point scale. The last thing I wanted to talk about was discipline. And I hope if there are any students on this call, I hope they're listening. We want to instill more discipline back into the building. Last year, we didn't do that as much because of the pandemic. If there was a student online who was late to a class, we didn't punish them because it could have been a technical issue. We had a lot of students dealing with socio-emotional issues from the pandemic, students working, students taking care of siblings, elderly parents, grandparents, etc. However, this year, we will, mostly in the form of a detention and/or a Saturday detention. All students will be expected, if they are issued a detention, to serve it within 72 hours. We don't want you to have to do it the same day because you may have a job or maybe there's something that you have to get to at home. But within 3 days, you must serve your detention. Now, if you don't, you will be issued a Saturday detention, which means that you're here on Saturday at 8 o'clock until about 11 o'clock, 3 hours. And this is for parents. Parents, a fine will be assessed for all Saturday attentions in the amount of $25. It's not a lot, but it is a fine. We want to make sure that all of our students are adhering to all of our rules, as well as adhering to our values, one of which is discipline. That means you must come to school on time every day. That also means that when you are going to your next class, you have 4 minutes to get there. Now, Holy Trinity isn't that big, and we only have 3 floors. 4 minutes is ample enough time to get from one class to another. You just have to make sure that you get there. I mentioned the uniform earlier. Be in uniform every day. We're a Catholic institution, no different than any other. All other Catholic institutions, there's a uniform and you must adhere to it. Holy Trinity is no different. We will insist upon this every day of every period. Students, please be in uniform and come to school on time. Now, I understand things happen sometimes and you don't get here when you're supposed to be. Certainly for the first week, we won't be imposing this as harshly. But after the first week, we expect everyone to adhere to all the rules in the student handbook. I think that is it for me. So Charles, I'll toss it back to you.
All right. We have a good number of questions that came in as you were giving your presentation, Dr. Payton. So I do want to be sure that we get some of these questions and address them. This first question that I want to get to goes back to you, Mr. Malloy, about tuition. Parent is asking in their smart tuition account, it says that there are no payments due. the new academic year 21-22 is not available. Is there anything they can do?
If you could email Adrian Jimenez, I'll put his email address in the chat. He can look into your account and see what the issue is.
All right. Let me go back up in the chat just to be sure that I am not missing anything. Okay, so we'll start. Now, if someone, Dr. Payton, this question is directed back to you now. If someone comes or tests positive at the school, will we use the same rules that we did as last year?
You have to provide the school with a negative COVID test to come back into the building. So that's the same as last year. The only difference is there will be no remote learning option. So we're basically treating COVID the same way we would treat if, let's say, your student acquired the chicken pox. They would have to stay home. We would send their work home. They will be contacted by their teachers, perhaps even by my office, for their well-being, and also any work or lessons missed.
Next question is, do we need to provide the students with their physicals, dental, and eye doctor forms to submit to the main office? Also, I think we just answered that. If a student has their vaccine card, do we want the student's vaccine card, which we already addressed that, but then we'll go back to the physicals and dental and eye doctor forms. Do they need to bring those to the main office?
Yes, we need proof that all students have been given a physical, and that should be given to the main office with Linda Bannon.
Now, going back to uniforms, are boys allowed to wear earrings if their ears are pierced?
No.
This is an interesting question. I think you may have touched on this before because we're not doing cohorts, but this parent is asking, will students be cohorted because will we do contact tracing exposures, if a student does come down with the virus, and will people be required to quarantine?
People will be required to quarantine. We're not in cohorts this year, but we will be doing contract tracing for any student that comes down with the virus.
What type of shoes are allowed? Gym shoes or dress shoes?
You can wear either one. I believe the distinction is it has to be a solid color, either black, brown, white, but it has to be a solid color.
So for example, no black with like green stripes.
Correct.
Okay. Someone else is asking a question. What is appropriate to wear for orientation in the first week of school? I think that's a good question because I think sometimes, students get a little confused on what is and what isn't appropriate to wear when not required to be in uniform.
So you can dress down during orientation as well as the first 3 days of school. We don't want any gang paraphernalia or shirts that have inappropriate things on them, naked bodies. We don't like tattoos being showed. But you may dress down for orientation and for the first week of school.
The state guidance also does not require active temperatures taken with thermometers. However, students should continue to be screened for symptoms, i.e. asked, do you have a fever? And I am fairly certain that we will continue to do that
Yes.
as students are coming into the building.
We did that last year. We'll continue doing that this year. However, parents, if you know your child is not feeling well, do not send them to school.
These next couple of questions are in regards to Dr. Payton, the updated grading scale or the revised grading scale. So the first question is with this new grading scale, does this mean that their GPAs will be adjusted to reflect the new system?
I don't believe so. Jonathan, if you want to chime in on that, I know you and I talked about this already.
Sure. So the rigor of classes is the same. So for instance, a regular class will still earn a 4.0 for an A. An AP class will earn a 5.0 for an A. So all that is the same. Additionally, and the letters are consistent across the grading scales. So an A under the previous grading scale got you a 4.0 for a regular class. An A under the new grading scale gets you a 4.0. The only thing that's changed is the threshold at which an A is reached. So previously, I believe students had to get a 93 just to get an A letter grade. Now they can get an A- letter grade with a 90. That's all that's changed. And our records are based on letter grades. So it comes down to the letter and not the percentage that's obtained. So the letters of previous classes receive the correct GPA, and letters receive the same GPA now. The only difference is that the letters are reached at a lower threshold than before.
Also, as a follow-up, what about honors classes? Is that a 4.0 or 5.0?
I believe honors are 4.5 for an A. So they sit right between AP and regular.
That's correct.
For the new grading scale,